I've been thinking some more since the last time I sat here talking to myself about gender attitudes to health. Because apart from the man flu myth that got me so exercised last week, the other cliché is that men are far more reluctant to go to the doctor than women. And that one's pretty much true, isn't it? When something goes wrong with our bodies, we men ignore it, and then suddenly address it at the point where we've decided overnight that it's almost certainly going to kill us and demand to see the doctor immediately. Whereas women, and I'm aware I'm beginning to sound like exactly the sort of vacuous aren't women sensible, aren't men silly windbag I was decrying last week, but in general, it's true, women just go. Maybe both this and the man flu thing come from the masculine binary switch versus feminine sliding scale mentality. Men, obviously we're back in the land of broad generalizations here, like to think of ourselves as either well or ill. And perhaps this is where the perception of man flu comes from, that men either deny they've got a cold and refuse to make any concessions to it, or declare themselves ill and take to their bed, like the heroine of a Victorian novel, only phlegmier. I don't know. But I do think that with more serious things, or rather things that are less obviously explicable, men's attitude to health is one of either denial or panic. Men try to ignore any warning sign their body sends them until either their body or their paranoia refuse to let them ignore it any longer. Whereas women are prepared to address signals of illness in due time and with a proportional response. But then no wonder, after all, women's bodies are so much more complicated than ours. From their teens onwards, women have to become accustomed to a lifetime routine of maintenance and upkeep that would stagger us as we lumber about, doing our best to remember to eat and shave. No wonder they're more practical when something does go wrong with their bodies. I dare say I'd be a lot more rational about my various minor aches and pains if copious bleeding from my genitals was just something that happened every so often. Women's bodies, unlike ours, are equipped to do an amazing trick, compared to which the modest tricks male bodies can do are like trying to top the parting of the Red Sea with some linking and unlinking rings from a cracker. And in order to be able to do this amazing trick, women are programmed to keep the apparatus in good working order. So naturally they go to the doctor with stuff, rather than lying awake worrying about the secret significance of the hurty elbow. What it comes down to is that women's bodies are capable of producing life as well as losing it, so there's plenty of incentive to keep them in good nick. Men's, however, are only going the one way. Anything weird that happens to my body is not going to be because it turns out there's now two of me, whereas one day I'll notice something that means there's soon only going to be naught.